Hello guys, and welcome back to Chris Baraka and family. So in this video, I'm going to address my response on the prophecy that was given by Celestial that is concerning Donald Trump and also Kamala Harris. So the prophecy was that Kamala Harris is the one who's going to be the president, but the current president of the United States at the time I'm doing this video is Donald Trump. And I've seen that so many people have always been coming to my comment section, some of them with a lot of different abusive language, just because they are, according to them, they feel that Celestial probably is not a true prophet from God because that prophecy currently has not come to pass the way that she had prophesied. Yes, the Bible is very clear in the book of Deuteronomy about prophecies. When a prophecy is given and a prophet says that thus says the Lord, then definitely that means that prophecy has to come to pass. If it doesn't come to pass, the Bible is very clear that you should not fear that prophet. So, but before we pass the final judgment on that, there is a clip from Celestial, a very recent clip where she's addressing, then again, she's just addressing the Donald Trump, Kamala Harris situation. And just she's shedding some very shocking insights to what exactly is happening in the beautiful country of America. And that is what I want us to have a look, first of all, before I get to share my response. So it's quite clear that a lot of different people have been very, very abusive, because even she's making such remarks in the snippet that I'm about to share. And I wonder, if we say we are Christians the way we are, why are we this abusive? And, you know, I just wonder. But anyway, we'll talk about it after I get to play for you this video. So if it's your first time coming across this platform, do me a favor and hit on that subscribe button right now. So let's get into the video.
So if you're a new person, it is likely that you have come here because the fulfillment of past prophecies has been shown to you by your friends, shown to you by your family, or you found it by browsing, or you prayed to God for truth and he brought you here, or you came here to be a mocker and a scoffer, whatever the case may be. But now that you are here, we are in another portion of the prophecies where the best explanation I can give you for it is the one that was done immediately after the American election. That is called 666, your judgment remains upon you. That is the prophecy that looms large, to me anyway, that explains the time period that we are in now, which is that the American people endeavored, by reason of getting together, by reason of what they called prayer and fasting, by reason of what they thought was humility. They thought it was humble to go up to the Mount of God and complain loudly that they did not want a female dictator. And they thought that they would go up and proclaim loudly in God's face how he's supposed to be good, how he's supposed to be kind and merciful to his children. Don't you remember? And they also thought that they would go up to the mountain of God and they would take a picture of who they wanted to be their president. And they did that. And God allowed them to prevail for that moment. And then instantly, after he gave them the pheasant to eat, he also sent death into their mouths by sending a message immediately after the US elections, when people were still jubilating, when the cry of victory, victory was still loud in their mouth. The Lord sent a message that is entitled 666, your judgment remains upon you. He also sent a live prayer call that is called, I think it's called, You Have Changed Nothing. So those two were received in the same night. A verbal dictation prophecy as well as a live prophecy that was just flowing out as we were on the prayer line. And so the time period that we are in now is where America has greatly yanked the wheel. America greatly yanked the wheel telling herself that if we pull on the wheel hard enough while pumping the brakes and also yanking up the emergency brake, what's going to happen is that we're going to be able to put this car that was headed for a collision course on a certain prophetic track. We're going to go into Tokyo drift because we know better than God what is best for us. And we don't believe that we are judged anyway. This is all lies that is coming forth from this woman called Celestial. And so that happened. And now we can see that the car is on a different track that is absolutely the same. Massive case of buyer's remorse in the United States of America. We are on the identical prophetic track that we were on before, except that it's bumpier. It's a lot more obvious than someone who would have been operating hand in glove, what the Lord called craft. It's now bold and out in the open, and the American people are taken aback to see their nation being restructured, exactly like a North Korean nation, which is what we're going to end up with no matter who's in the White House. That is what we're going to end up with. A North Korean setting, a North Korean setup, a North Korean aesthetic. Is going to look exactly like a communist, Stalinist, socialist, dystopian 1984 nightmare. And with the exception that it's happening with a male at the helm instead of a female, the judgment remains upon us. And so this brief interlude is just to let you know that as I'm working on this blog, there are certain things that I'm simply not going to tolerate. I'm not going to tolerate people coming here first and foremost and disrespecting the words of the Lord by calling them misnomers, by abusing them, by attempting to undermine them. There are a lot of people from foreign nations that feel that they have the right to do that. So the majority of the prophecies are directed towards the American citizenry as well as whoever is an immigrant of whatever status living in the United States. So basically it's people who are directly impacted by living on the American continent, subject to American national disasters, subject to the American government overreach that we're currently witnessing, subject to American judgments, American diseases, American car accidents, and things like that. People from outside keep coming and trying to undermine what God is saying, exactly like the snake in the garden. After Eve had heard from her husband what the instructions were, and she was keeping the instructions under the leadership of her husband, then along comes the snake to try and have a side conversation that was absolutely not necessary. And why was it not necessary? Because the Lord had already made known what the instructions were. He gave them to Adam, and Adam told his wife, and together the two of them were walking in harmony, disobedient, because there was no third party trying to introduce alternates. There's a lot of people internally in the country and from outside the country who keep trying to come and introduce alternates about something that does not concern them in the first place, by saying, why would God say this anyway? It doesn't make sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you because you don't live here. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you because you're not familiar with local parlance. You're not familiar with how things work here. You're not familiar simply because maybe God hasn't given you the understanding, because the understanding that desperately needs to be opened. The people who desperately need to try and escape Jeremiah 6 and 10. If you haven't read Jeremiah 6 and 10, you better read Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 10 and start praying against it so that it can get out of the brains of your brothers, your sisters, your co-workers, your husband, your children. You should read Jeremiah 6 and 10. You should also read Isaiah, I think it's 6 and 10. I'm not sure, but I think it is Isaiah chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. You should read those together and understand why people are so brick-headed when it comes to listening to these prophetic words. And you should pray strongly that the spirit that does that to people should not do that to you. So maybe you're from outside the country, and the reason you find everything strange and the reason you keep wondering why would God do that is because the message is not primarily intended for you. It is primarily intended for the people inside the country, for them to get it, for them to get themselves out of harm's way, for them to not be hurt, for them to not end up a casualty of God's attack and God's coming destruction of his enemy. If you do not agree and you're from outside, keep your thoughts to yourself. They carry absolutely no weight here. It is far too late for Johnny come latelys and Jonetta come latelys to come and start saying, oh, I think you're stopping the people from testing the prophecy. Listen, if you just got here, that means you haven't read all the old prophecies, and you haven't watched all the old prophecies in which I took time as moved by the Holy Spirit, to teach people about discernment, to teach them what discernment is, to teach them how to differentiate between a wolf and a sheep in the pulpit, that will cause them to lose their spiritual lives if they are not careful about what they are listening to and believing. So you cannot come at the late date and start trying to sprinkle herbs into a pot that is already cooked, already covered, and has been being served for quite a long period of time. It's absolutely unnecessary. It shows that you lack manners. It shows that you lack presence. It shows that you're unable to read the room, and I will simply remove your presence from the blog without a second thought, because this is not a survey. This is not a Walmart survey. Nobody's asking anybody for feedback here, including myself. I'm not giving the Lord feedback on what I receive. So absolutely no feedback is necessary from the audience to say, we feel this way, we think it should be done this way, it should be done that way. Another thing that needs to be addressed is, people, you need to be more careful when you're on the internet. You need to stop interacting with scam pages. I've said this 1,000 times, that this blog has been cloned multiple times by scam. And so we're only in February of this year, and the American people are groaning. We're only in February, okay? This is just barely 30 days after the advent of the administration that America swore she wanted. And now that administration is going after everything that the nation holds dear, every civil right, everything. They're going after it. They're demanding it. They're wanting access. And Americans think that because it's starting with foreigners, it's pointing to foreigners, it's starting with foreigners, Americans think, yeah, that's right, America for Americans. No, what you're watching is a precedent being set. You're looking at certain protocols being set, and they know that you will support them when they do it to foreign people. But after they've set up that we do this kind of witch hunt, we do this kind of oversight, we do this kind of audit without Senate oversight, and we do it against what the judges are saying, we step outside, we use the executive pen that you were afraid Kamala was going to use, and now Trump is abusing it 100 times more, because he's always been an upfront, brash type of man. This administration is basically doing it to the outsiders first, because they know that this nation is dull enough, racist and xenophobic enough to clap and say, yeah. But then after that, when the methodology has been established, this means the institutions for this new beast system that you're actually clapping for now has been set up. Once all the foreigners are gone, then guess who's next? Just go ahead and guess who's next. Because once the machine has been built and the claws have crunched, the claws have been built to crunch. So who do you think is next to be crunched? It's the citizens of the country that are going to be crunched. Exactly as you've heard since 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. The machinery isn't being built for the foreigners. It's being built for us. So, God bless you. God prosper you. God give you the wisdom to understand what I'm saying. God give you the peace inside your spirit that he's not going to leave us at the time we need him most, but we need him greatly to teach us how to navigate this new life and this new world and this new everything that is already upon us.
Wow, that's quite shocking right there. And also just the insight of what exactly is going on, because probably a lot of people are excited right now about the whole immigration laws that have just been enforced, where we can see a lot of backlash. Definitely, there's quite a number of people who are living in fear just because of that. But the insight to it that who's next, after they have after they have dealt with the immigrants, then who is next? That is actually quite a nice question, and something that really needs some very good ponder, because you might be supporting a system, not knowing exactly the rise of that system, the impact, or rather, actually, the immigrant thing can just be a decoy. That cannot, it might mean that that maybe is not the realest plan, but rather there is another plan, which is the major plan. But to get to it, there is a channel. There is a channel that the system has to pass through. There is a prophecy of Trump being the last Trump. Trump being the last Trump. Or rather, Trump ushering us to the Trump. You know, probably I'll speak about that prophecy on another video. But on this video, I wanted to address about Celestial prophetess from the Master's Voice prophecy, and just different concerns that people have been having. People have been saying, talk about this. What do you think about this? So I just want to talk, first of all, about that prophecy. There is a detailed video I did about the specific prophecy. We did that video with a compilation of videos from 2019. I've actually included the link right here on the description. In case you never saw it, the link is right there in the description. So I did a compilation of all that prophecy. And what was very clear about the way she prophesied, saying that Kamala was she's going to be the president of the United States. She never said that it was going to be through an election. Because in that video, I titled it, What Everyone Missed About the Donald Trump Kamala Harris Prophecy. That is how I titled that video, because there's some details that people missed. And you see, the details that people missed is what makes the whole difference. Because there's an assumption that everyone had that this is how this prophecy is going to turn out to be. There was no timeline for that prophecy. So, according to a lot of people's mind, is that this was the timeline and this is how it's going to play out. So surprisingly, it just maybe never got to play out how they thought. And because of that, they declared the prophecy a false and also declared Celestial a false. So it will be nice for you to get to watch the video, first of all, so that you get it in good context. Get to understand what exactly the prophecy said. Get to understand it in good detail, first of all. Then something again that probably something you can also think about, and it's something that I am also really thinking about, is that, you see, yes, the current president is Donald Trump, but Kamala Harris is still here. She's very present. So if she was not here anymore, then definitely that prophecy will call it, it won't be valid because she's not here anymore. I'm talking about her being on earth. But if she is here, then definitely let's give it time. Why do you want to speed up the prophecy? Why do you want to rush things according to your own judgment or according to how you think? We have to give it time because she's still here. But if she's no longer here, then definitely that means that prophecy can never come to pass. So it might be quite a full move to just jump into conclusions and say, this is it. Let us give it some time. Let us give it some time. Over time, we'll be able to know if truly she was a true prophet or not. Same thing, if you go and read Jeremiah, Jeremiah used to give prophecies about destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. You remember the kings, you remember even the people right there in Jerusalem. No one believed him because at that moment life was just normal. They could not see it. They could not see it. Different kings tried even to make agreements with the Babylonian king just for them to be able to actually just have the peace right there in Jerusalem. And they thought everything was okay. He was tortured because of these prophecies. That is Prophet Jeremiah. To a point that they actually call him the weeping prophet. He prophesied about judgment of Israel. Yes, he also prophesied about the restoration. But no one wanted to get to receive that prophecy because everything looked so perfectly. And if over the years, I've actually just come to realize that if a prophet prophesies mostly about blessings, if a prophet prophesies to you that you're going to get a new car, get a new house, people are very excited about such prophecies. But if a prophet comes and tells you to repent, turn from your ways, then now people start to point fingers at her or him and call them whatever names. So my opinion about that prophecy, let us give it time. Let us give it time. Let us not be in a rush. Let us give it time. Over time, we will definitely get to understand. We will get to definitely understand it. And for those who are really coming, even in my own platforms, through the comment section with a lot of abuse language and everything, for Celestial, I think she's just overwhelmed by that. She's just had enough of it. But I'll kindly request that try to be the Christian that you say you are, even as you are commenting. You know, don't be abusive. There's no need to abuse. There's no need to abuse. So let me know what you think about it right there in a very respectable way, right there in the comment section. Share your opinion, share what you think about it. I'll be glad to get to hear from you. If you have not subscribed, subscribe right now. And do me a favor, like the video. Just click on that like button. So stay blessed and see you on the next one.